Good evening and welcome to this interview with three amazing women tonight. This is one of our Winning Women interview series where, got some people arriving. There we are. Yeah, my aim for setting up these interviews was to interview people who will be inspiring to our group, and just to say Winning Women is a networking community originally based in Essex, and we still do have meetings in Essex, but we also now have an international group, and the plan is that with the joys of the last couple of years, we can now be much more international. A lot of people now have an international business, maybe not you three ladies at the moment, but a lot of us do. So we meet twice a month in physical in Southend and Chelmsford, and then we have an online meeting as well. So the aim for this evening was, I've known Karen quite a long time. I knew Karen when she started fairly early on, and we've worked together, haven't we, Karen? You've done some work on my house, and we've Karen has always been quite frustrated, to put it politely, haven't you? Because you've had two teenagers, and I've heard you say so many times about schools are just not encouraging children to do anything other than go to university. And it just seems so crazy. And as we've got these women who are running amazing businesses, getting opportunities, and we have a current skills shortage, and we've got a lot of teenagers who are obviously going to be looking for something that pays them well and provides them with a really good, sound business or work for the future. That we get you all together, air it, see if we can get some people from industry together. So we've got some people arrived. Thank you very much. And let's just see where the conversation goes. So, yeah, I just ask you all to mute yourselves till you're speaking, but let's begin with you, Karen. So fill us out. What got you into being an electrician? You got an interesting story that I do know.
Okay, so first of all, I'd love to say thank you for inviting me and all the other participants to this. It's as you know, Rosemary, I can't actually remember when I first met you, but I've been in this industry for 11, getting on 12 years, so it must be that long. And when I first entered the industry, I didn't know anybody or anything, and somebody suggested that I look at networking, which has proved to be massively beneficial for my business. Obviously, through social media, I discovered you and the fantastic women. I always struggle with this it's tongue teaser, isn't it? Winning Women Essex networking group, and that was fantastic because it's so supportive and collaborative. And yeah, my story is basically that I saw a little bit of a gap in the market for a female tradesperson, and it proved to be true. I went off and trained, and but it was massively frustrating. I found there was barriers, not only for women to train, but anybody over the age of, I don't know, 25 to train in the trades. And that for me was very thought-provoking, because I set about thinking, you know, if you think about our society, you know, tradespeople are the backbone. Like, one of my mantras, as you know, is if we teach all our children to be brain surgeons, who's going to build all the hospitals? And that is very, very, very true. And if I, you know, as I've told you and many people, now I've got a now 19 and 22-year-old son and daughter who have been through the education system and at no point have been encouraged to work with their hands or consider a career in trades, because there seems to be this perception that you'll only be guided down that vocational route if you're not clever enough to do something else. And the perception that the education system put on our children, even though it might be unknowing, it might be unwitting, is that you will only consider something vocational if you're, you know, I don't like to use the word stupid, but it is true. unfortunately, and I can only talk about electrics as an example. So very quickly, you know, if you consider where we were, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years ago, every house had one socket in every room, one light in every room, and a cooker circuit, and that was it. Now we've got smart home technology, we've got CCTV, we've got Wi-Fi, we've got internet, we've got all of this stuff that relies on technology. So the caliber of candidate that we need to encourage to come through our apprenticeship route is massively, it's got to be massively intelligent to cope with all that technology. So and the shame of it is that I feel like the education system and the apprenticeship model just hasn't caught up with that concept, you know. And now we've got you know, electric vehicle charging, we've got all of these green targets that the government want to meet, but we're not, as a society or in education, doing anything towards that. And I find that, well, it's gobsmacking. It's just, it's staring us in the face, and yet, you know, nothing's being done. And I find that quite, well, I find that quite sad, actually. And also, even in one of their publications this week, well, it was actually in the Times. So it was in the Times this weekend that the government has announced that because of all of the extra uptake of the electric vehicle charging, you know, technology, we are going to be, households are going to be, their electric, you know, the uptake that they can have. So the grid is going to automatically be switching us all off at certain times, like peak times, when everyone wants to watch Coronation Street. You're not going to be allowed to charge your electric vehicle because there won't be enough capacity in the grid. And people are going, oh no, we didn't see that coming. And I think I was ranting about this 5 years ago. And yeah, it's just, it's bonkers. It's all bonkers. But anyway, you know, I detract. However, you know, I was having this conversation with a lady who I met at a networking meeting last week. You know, have you been in a position where you've tried to find a tradesperson? She said, yes, and I can't. So, kind of where we're at.
And how's your career been?
Oh, incredibly successful, hard work. in the initial stages, I actually, because I realised quite quickly that although I'd got all of the qualifications, I didn't have the experience. What I did was I formed an allegiance with another electrician and basically got on the job training, and I did my apprenticeship via an outside the box route, but that was fine. And then, you know, I've thoroughly enjoyed learning about the trade because I felt passionately about it. I quickly realised, you know, it wasn't all just about getting up, going to work, coming home, doing the bare minimum. I realised that I was going to be a service provider and a solutions provider, and quite often the fourth emergency service for a lot of people. And then more recently, as I'm getting older in my years, I've kind of wanted to diversify a bit. And now I've got a new role with, I'm not out of construction. You know, I feel passionately about working in construction, but I've just taken a little bit of a sideways step and keeping up with technology. I've gone over to audio visual, smart home technology, you know, and I'm going to be going down that road now because it allows me to stop scrabbling around in lofts and, you know, doing some of the hard work, but I'll still feel massively passionately about being there as a role model and, you know, showing women and girls that it doesn't have to be a male dominant, that being in a trade is a really, really, really not just profitable thing to do, but it's it's challenging. You know, it does represent a different mindset, and you know, you can run your own business, it can be massively successful, and you'll be actually filling a need which the UK has right now.
Brilliant. And have you done any outreach to go to schools or anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a few talks at sixth forms. I've worked with Havering College and been along there and judged some of their apprenticeship days, and I mentor behind the scenes, you know, several people, not just women, and then also, you know, who just reach out, because I think if you put yourself out there on social media and you attract people, and it's great to interact with those people and make a difference and help. Yeah, and that is the power of social media, so it's brilliant.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And you certainly haven't been shy of being visible either, have you? Particularly more in recent years.
And I do think that when I started off, I was a little bit unsure of myself. And then I realised that what I had to do was stick my head above the parapet and say, this is what's possible, this is what's achievable. Because there is this perception in the trades that you have to have served an apprenticeship, you know, have to have left school and decided what you wanted to do, or got pushed into something you didn't want to do. Because let's face it, that's what often happens. And I just thought, no, I'm not going to put up with that. I've actually made a point at 40 years of age of saying, this is what I want to do. And I've been happy doing it. And I think that I've been told by a lot of people that has been inspirational, and it's enabled them to see what's possible if you want it enough. So yeah, I don't regret that, and I'll stand by that decision all day long. And I, you know, as I move forward into my senior years, I'd love to take on more mentorship, and yeah, I've got loads of ideas about how I could make that happen. I just need more. I need to invent an 8th day in the week like we all do.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I think what might come from this also is maybe some collaboration around that as well. I'm already sensing that, judging by some of the people who signed up. So brilliant. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, let's go to Louise. I know Louise told me she's feeling a bit nervous. So now you came into this through quite a different route, didn't you? I was reading what you sent me, and you got offered your apprenticeship the day before your 17th birthday. Was that right?
Yeah. Where I come from is a little town called Tilbury. It's quite underprivileged. There's a lot of unemployment. And the school system down there isn't the best. I left school at 16 with quite poor grades. I wanted to be a graphic designer. I did not have the necessary qualifications to actually go to college to do that. So I had to do the job seeking route, and there were 2 jobs. One was working at Debenhams, and the other one was being an electrician's mate. And it was only for 2.5 months. So I went to the Debenhams interview, never heard anything back. And the interview that I actually had was with a very small company. And one of the prerequisites was being able to read and write my own name, because it had 7 people coming previously who couldn't, not legibly. So I did that, and he said, as long as you turn up tomorrow, bring up some tools and we'll see what happens. Thankfully at the time, my mum's boyfriend, he was a builder by trade, so he gave me a bucket of tools, told me what to wear, said that if you want to take this further, you need to show willing, you need to listen, you really, really need to pay attention properly what they're doing. And literally, that was on the Wednesday I started, and then on the Thursday they were like, "We're really impressed with everything you're doing. We'd like to offer you an apprenticeship." At that point, I didn't even know what an apprenticeship was, which to some people is quite weird, but for where I come from, it's not for girls, because girls were always going into childcare, girls were always going into beauty or going in to do something that's office based, doing typing lessons and computers, whereas the boys were being encouraged to possibly go and do plumbing or electrical stuff. And I didn't even know what an apprenticeship was then. And so I was a bit shocked, and I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to do it. Then I found out what it was, and it's like even more wanted to do it because I've always loved learning. And then I would turn 17 on the Friday. I got my first pay packet ever, and it was the best feeling in the world. I'd got a possible career and moved on through it. Then I did so much learning in those few months between February and September. I learned so many different things. I couldn't believe just how much I didn't actually know. And then when I went to college, the first day of my apprenticeship, had the same sort of thing. Some boys thinking they're being clever, telling me that they were going to beauty and fashion class, asking me where I was going. I was like, well, if you go in, you might want to change your shoes because they do not go with those jeans. And embarrassed in front of their friends. And it ended up that I became quite good friends with him. And I loved it. I did actually stop doing my apprenticeship for a bit to look after my nan. And then I did actually go back and complete it with T Clark's. And I spent most of my time over Canary Wharf on the HSBC Tower. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of people. I think at one point there was 10,000 men and there was about 6 women. And I was the Canary Wharf apprentice. And I'm not going to lie, it was difficult at times. Sometimes the banter went a little bit too far. But all the people I worked with had my back, and they were the ones that told them, like, no, stop. You don't talk to them like that. She's just an engineer like we are. She's just trying to do a job. Just leave her alone. And I was quite lucky in that respect because there's about 500 electricians on site at that time, and me. And then I carried on. I slowly moved into maintenance, and eventually became a mobile maintenance engineer. And I was working around the south of Essex and London and that sort of area. But eventually I sadly had a massive nervous breakdown and ended up in hospital. And I couldn't go back to work. I was very, very poorly. I wasn't even going out of the house. I was so bad. I couldn't even leave the house. I was too scared. Then after a lot of hard work, I eventually got myself well enough that we decided to have my son Hayden. And then in 2016, I decided to come back to work full time. Believe it or not, I actually applied for 50 jobs. I got 2 replies. I even had the patronising phone call. Well, what are you going to do about childcare? What does that matter? And then eventually got to 2 interviews. One of them didn't feel right, but then I went to interview at Broadgate, which is Liverpool Street Station. And as soon as I worked there, I was made to feel welcome by the company. It was NG at the time, and by the property manager and the engineering manager there, who just happened to be another lady called Laurie. And I've been there now since March 2016. I started out as an engineer. I'm now on my 3rd building of the campus, and I'm now actually a supervisor. I did actually teach for a short period as well, in between a couple of jobs, which I did find interesting. It's quite nice when you've got an apprentice, or some of them weren't even proper apprentices. They were, when I say proper apprentices, they weren't, their course wasn't being paid for by a learning scheme. It's being paid for by themselves. And I had students from the age of down from 16. I think the oldest was about 63. And when that light bulb moment goes, when it clicks and they get it, you know, when you're showing them how to put a bubble set in a bit of conduit, and then they work out how those measurements work and how all of a sudden click, it switches on. And now I'm in the position where I'm a mentor for apprentices that are going through this in college. And it's good to see when they come to me that they're feeling a little bit low, they're not sure if this is what they want to do. And I somehow managed to reignite that feeling of accomplishment of everything they do. And it's just a nice feeling to see that as well. So, but I do love my job.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. And you shared something the other day about your company making more apprenticeships available. Was that right?
Yeah, at present I work for ABM, Technical Solutions, and they are actually looking for more apprentices, and they are looking also, I think, keenly at the situation about the shortage of staff, because they're not, I don't know if they're getting as many apprentices applying as such, or whether the quality is as good as they need. They want more people to come into the trades. They want more people to come and learn this, because it's such a broad spectrum of things you can go for. I'm predominantly an electrician, but I've been lucky. I've worked on industrial, commercial, and domestic and agricultural. I've done the four, so to speak, and I've even worked in a laboratory before as well, which was interesting. But from there, you can go anywhere, and you know, it's almost as though you've written your own passport as well, because you can go around the world. I know people that have worked in Dubai, people that have worked in Canada, people that work in Japan. You know, the British trades are still very, very highly regarded across the world as the best tool. And with ABM, they're trying to reverse that trend of the trades or site-based work is a negative thing. They've got something called the Junior Engineering Engagement Program, which they take along around schools, and it's really, really, I've actually participated in it, and I've been to a school that was local to where my site is, and watching these kids when they realise just how much engineering is actually built into their every single day life. Watching them, like one of them learning a little bit about fluid dynamics and teaching them about the difference in viscosity and stuff like that. Another child showing him how to do heat transfer with just a piece of copper and some hot water, and like working out how it's working and what ways work better. And some of the girls there, one of them actually said, I do actually want to be an engineer. Is it dirty? It's like, well, I'm not going to lie, it's not clean, but there's a reason why they have showers. There's a reason why you can go get washed. And I would love to get more women into the trades, because there's such a big part of us that could be used. I've worked with so many people, they've said to me that all the female engineers or that they've ever worked with, they tend to be cleaner, they seem to be more observant, and they take more pride in their work. And I don't know why that is, but it's what I've always been, been told this several times. So
That's really interesting, Louise. I mean, I've had my own business since '92, and I started doing networking a long time ago. And I remember hearing a lady called Hattie speak. Now, Hattie founded a women's plumbing organisation. What was it called? Stopcocks, Karen? You're nodding. And she was speaking at a women's event, and she said she got a reputation for leaving a house in a better state than when she arrived.
Yeah. But,
yeah.
You know, there's a saying that she has been used on site more than once, which is if it's not for home and it's not for show, it doesn't matter. I don't take that view. It does matter, because eventually someone's going to look at it and it'll be you're the last person that touched it. They will see it. And I think you should take pride in everything you do.
Brilliant.
Can I just say also, Rosemary, because I don't know if you're aware, but Hattie actually goes to Buckingham Palace tomorrow to collect her MBE for services to women in plumbing, and she received that MBE, and obviously then we went into lockdown, so she's been denied the
Pomp and ceremony.
glory. So if you find her on social media, do give her a thumbs up, because I know she's feeling really emotional about it. But yeah,
Hattie and
amazing,
Micah
amazing
about
lady,
something.
and a massive. And you know, sorry, I won't take up too much time, but because social media, when I started in my business, social media wasn't what it is now. And I did just type in female tradesperson, and Hattie came up. And I'm going back 9 years ago. And so we kind of connected, and she's been a really inspirational role model for me. We've met a few times, and and this is the power of social media. But it's also, one of my strap lines is, "Oh no, you Rosemary, you can't be what you can't see." And this is why, sorry, Louise, I just sent you a message saying it's a shame that all the amazing things you're talking about are not more widely publicized, because girls don't know that the girls get exposed to Love Island and bloody The Only Way is Essex and all of that malarkey. You know, if we could have our own TV channel promoting all of the amazing stuff we're talking about, how brilliant would that be? You know, anyway, sorry, I digress. But yes, it is. It would be great to find a route to get the message out. I don't know how we go about it, but we're gonna die trying, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's like one of the things I was saying to Rosemary the other day, is that it's not just the younger generation, it's also the generation that's ours. There is hundreds upon thousands of women that have just lost their jobs because of the pandemic in hospitality and retail, that are looking for another way to earn a living, another way to find themselves again, because this is pandemic. We've all kind of lost ourselves in a way, if you know what I mean. And when your identity is being social, going out, being at work, being around other people, and all of a sudden that's stripped away from you because your shop's shut, because that's the one you worked in, or because the hotel you worked in no longer needs as many people in it, or the pub that you worked in is now closed, and so on and so forth. These women are now looking for work, and a lot of these women are actually single parents. And one of the most annoying things I think about working on site is how rigid the timing is. There needs to be more flexibility with timing. There are women out there that would love to come to work and be able to do, say, 6 hours at work, but just so it gives them time to drop their children off at school, or to the kids clubs, or to pick them up from school in the kids club. Because I don't know any creche that opens up at 5:30 in the morning. I don't know any that are open till 9 o'clock at night without charging an arm and a leg. Which is why we've got all these people that need this, or want to come into the trades, or want to come into to retrain, but can't, because there's a big barrier. And although there's a lot of men that have got going through this, there's a lot more women that are affected by it. And I mean, I honestly do find my job rewarding. I really do. I do spend more time in the office now, but everything I'm doing for a reason. My building's my second home, and it's not my building because I don't own it. But when people say, well, why do you get so involved? So because it's my building too. And you know, I could have gone home, but I don't. I stay there and I help. And I hope that when people see me being like that at work, it also like tracks down the line to them as well. It's the same with my learning as my teaching as well, is that if they can see me when they're an apprentice doing what I'm doing, taking so much pride and putting so much of myself into my job, that they take the same view as well. And I'd love to be able to do that with a woman as well, just or a girl, just to show them, like, look, you start off here at A, but here's B, and then there's B1. You can go to B3, you can go to C2, you can go anywhere you want just from this little kernel of information of training. And there's so much more that can be done. And it's just, I don't know, there's just not enough from the government, I think, as well, to encourage us to come into it. I mean, was it 70,000 HGV drivers we're short of? And they're looking at training women up to be HGV drivers. Well, why can't we train them up to be engineers? You know?
Well, we started the conversation, ladies. Yeah.
On that point, sorry, just really quickly, you know, I know that you know, these youngsters, teenagers, school leavers are being encouraged to go to uni. What do they pay? 9 grand a year? Is it 9 grand a year for tuition? Right, you send me somebody that really wants to learn a trade. You give me 9 grand a year. I will churn out the most amazing trades person, woman, doesn't matter. And they will be set for life in their own business. But, oh no, we don't do that because they've got to go uni, haven't they? Get a pointless degree in something pointless.
I've been doing this for 24 years, and there's people out there that have been to uni, spent the same amount of time doing their degree, and they're working in coffee shops.
Yeah.
Because they're too overqualified for the jobs they're applying for.
Well, on that note, ladies, that's Carrie we're talking about. She's not in a coffee shop, she's an electrician. So let's go over to her. Meet Louise. Time to change the world, ladies. So tell us a little bit about you, how you got into it.
So I went to university. I was one of those kids pushed towards going to uni, and I did a master's, and then I started a PhD. And I was doing my PhD in neuroscience when my depression really kicked up a notch and my anxiety kicked up a notch, and I couldn't complete it. So I never finished my PhD. And I moved back home. I was really lucky. My parents still had space for me, and I started looking around thinking, I don't really want to work for anyone. How can I be self-employed? And a trade, that was always going to be where I was heading. So I got in touch. I got in touch with Karen before I started paying out all these fees for training and getting on the wrong course. And Karen has been my mentor since I started this journey. And she's looked after me and pushed me when I definitely needed a good kick up the bum. It's probably a couple of days that you probably remember. But I'm here now, and I've got my own business, and I love it. And I do domestic electrical, so completely different to what Louise does. But I can be really flexible. So because I can pick and choose my hours, if I don't have kids, but if I chose to, I could start my job and only work 6 hours as long as I only do the little jobs. You know, it does mean that it would limit me on the type of job I could take on if I was limited to a 6-hour chunk. But that doesn't mean the work isn't out there. There's so much work out there. There's so much that you can do in 6 hours to be an electrician. And yeah, I know I started reaching out to a lady in South Essex who does like career days for schools. And I was like, oh, fantastic. I'd love to go along and tell them this is my experience. I went to university. I did bioveterinary science. And you can see how that how that went. I'm no longer using any of the degree that I got, but I did get transferable skills from university. So although I'm not using my letters after my name, the social skills and the public talking and the presentation and the organization as well, because you have to. It's quite a big leap from A level to university. Suddenly you've got you are the master of your own time. You've got to be able to organize it. Well, I found it's very applicable to being self-employed as well. I am the master of my own time, and I've absolutely got to organize it. Otherwise, I'm not sending off the quotes in time, or I'm not getting my certificates out in time, or I'm not turning up to the job with the right stock. So you've got to be on it as a sort of self-employed. No one's providing me the stock. No one's making it any easier for me. So I've got to make sure that I've got everything in place. But yeah, it's certainly, I wish someone had have turned around to me at sort of 16 and been like, do you want to work with your hands? Do you want to work in an office job? Are you sure you want to go to university? Because if I'd have done this 10 years ago, or 20 years ago now, God, I'd be minted, you know, I'd be able to retire early. Oh, yeah, no, I love it. But it's something I found. Like, I went to night school when I retrained, and there was one other woman on the course, and she ended up quitting because she had kids, and there wasn't that much support, like additional support. Whereas I'd come from I'd come from a higher education, so I was fairly used to the classroom setup, fairly used to doing work and studying, that it kind of came second nature to me. Whereas she'd been at work for 10, 15 years, so she'd been out of the classroom setting for so long that there was no additional support to then continue your training. So retraining later on in life is really hard. And also, we didn't learn anything practical in terms of working in a house or working on site. You just learn on this 3-foot square board, you put everything together, it works, that's fantastic. And then you go into someone's house and you've got to troubleshoot why their light fitting isn't working. And, you know, you've got to tell them that you might damage the ceiling, and you've got to talk them through the possibilities. And you're not taught that. You've got to pick that up really quickly from these night school classes. So learning on the job is definitely something that needs to be available, especially to someone that's, you know, over 25. I think getting an apprenticeship is almost impossible. Yeah, it's been a fun journey. I like it, and I'm going to carry on being a Sparky. Yeah, certainly if I'd have started earlier, it'd be nice.
Brilliant.
I'm just going to, oh, sorry, Rosemary, don't want to interrupt, but I'm just going to jump in and say that, you know, Caroline has showed amazing resilience in, you know, because, yeah, she came to me she found me on social media. Again, social media.
Yep.
If I hadn't have stuck my head above the parapet and said, "Ooh, look at me and what I'm doing," she wouldn't have found me. And it's great that because she was local. And yeah, she's been on her learning journey, and I feel very privileged that I've been able to support that. And now she's gone off on her own. It's a bit like, you know, bird fly in the nest and all of that. But again, you know, she's now hopefully going to be out there as a role model for other women and young people. And this is what we so need. We so need this. You will never go to a careers event in a school and see pictures of me or Caroline or Louise on a board. You know, you'll go, you'll see, like, you'll look at the Quick Fit are a great company to work for. They don't feature any females changing tires or fixing gearboxes, you know. Anyway, don't get me started on that. But the things need to change, and I think it's just great if we can change them. Like I just said, it'd be great if we could have our own TV show, because we could do Panorama, couldn't we? This could be like, on this week's Panorama, Rosemary et al. Yeah, and it's just like, how do we do that? Like, question for you, Rosemary, sorry, but how do we get out there? This audience is great. How do we get this wider? What do we?
I think LinkedIn could be an amazing vehicle. You can get so much interaction on there now worldwide.
Hattie and Vita, they've got something called the Register of Tradeswomen, and they're doing amazing things as well. And I mean, they're the way that has grown so quickly. It's been literally meteoric. It's been amazing to watch, and they've got this register that people can go to specifically for women to do the work that men literally cannot do because they're men. When I was an apprentice, I did go and work in an old person's home that was all women. And I had to escort the male electrician round because some of the women would get extremely upset to see a male walking around. And one or two of the rooms, I had to go in to do the bits that they need to do for the testing, because the men couldn't go in there because the women would just start screaming because of what had happened previously when they were at home before they came to a nursing home. They were in a nursing home for a reason. And some of them just could not cope with being surrounded by men. And when I worked at the Sanctuary Spa at Covent Garden. It's an all-female team because you've got women walking around naked. You can't have men in that environment, and because it makes them feel uncomfortable for obvious reasons. So there is a lot of things that women can do, and there is a huge way that your career could go, not just electrical but plumbing, and we've got air conditioning engineers, we've got mechanics, we've got structural engineers, we've got plasterers, we've got decorators. There is so many different routes that women can go down. And like from electrical, you can then go into specialised electrical, where you're dealing with solar and renewables. You've got, obviously, now, as Karen's pointed out, we've got all the vehicle charging points that we're going to need, because there'll be no petrol and diesel cars being sold after 2030. Yeah. They've got this massive thing like for Broadgate, for instance. They're trying to get their carbon emissions down as far as they can. They want to be net carbon zero by 2030. And they're looking at all different things. So we've got power generators, obviously we've got standby generators, and they're looking at different ways of using that. So then you've got to go into the renewables with diesel generators. And then you've got working with heat pumps and other thermal products, which you then have to work with AC engineers with, you see. So there's such a big future ahead of us. There's so much growth, especially with the environment side of it, that we could actually all get involved with, but there's not the staff there anymore. There's not the people coming into the trades anymore, male or female, because it's all been about university, about college. And it's kind of like trying to glorify what we do to make them realise that although it seems like one thing, we're not glorifying it to make it better than it is. We're glorifying it because it is that good. It is that interesting. It is that rewarding when you go there and you've put something up and everyone else can use it. I go past the HSBC tower to work every day. I see my work area all the time. When I was on the
I did that.
Yeah, I did that. The diamonds on the HSBC tower, I wired them up. I put them lights in. I go past that and that's my work. Thousands of people go past that every day and don't realise I did that. How many women can say that I did that? It's that one thing that we do as tradespeople, I think, is also, I worked there, that was my work, I did that. But, it's my little bit of pride that I've got. People go past it and go like, I did that. I told my son, I did that. 700 foot in the air, that is, I did that. And he's like, did you, mummy? He's like, yeah. He said, that's so cool. And, it's just, yes, it is challenging. It really is challenging. College sometimes can be a bit much, but when you get it, when it clicks, it's a brilliant feeling inside. And it's empowering as well, because all these so-called men's jobs, they're not men's jobs, they're just jobs. We need to drop the gender specifics of stuff. Male nurses are not male nurses, they're just nurses.
Well, that's changed massively, hasn't it? I did my nurse training in '92, and the volume of men in those 30 years has just gone 180. So you're on the edge of something, ladies. You're all pioneers. So I think you could do with a good PR campaign, for one, as you say, Karen. If somebody made, who knows, I've got a little thing over there in front of me which says be open to all possibilities. So we've started here, you've all met each other, we got some interest on LinkedIn, didn't we? I will send this recording out to everyone who listened. Feel free to share it. I'm going to put it on YouTube. And anything else you want to add for now? Because I'm aware that we've gone on for 45 minutes.
Well, do you know what? I'll just jump in and say very quickly, because I know it's, you know, I, through social media, have met and, well, not met personally, some, but interacted with. Okay, so with there's obviously me, Louise and Carrie are tip of the iceberg. We have contacts with female crane operators, female brickies, female plumbers through Hattie, you know, female plasterers. We can do whatever, you know, we can get out there and promote a woman in a man's world all day long. The sad fact of the matter is, it's not perceived by our younger generations coming through as a viable, respectable, profitable thing, inverted commas, to do. Unfortunately, and I feel quite sad when I say this, we're raising a generation of children who think that it's perfectly fine to want to have aspirations towards being on Love Island and a social influencer, or on The Only Way is Essex. And, you know, I'm not saying that there's not a place for that, because there absolutely is. It didn't exist in our day, so we didn't even consider it. And I do think it takes a special caliber of person to want to do what we do. Unfortunately, those people are being, feel that the opportunities are passed by because it's never presented to them at the right time. And the right time would be in primary school, you know, in junior school, before, you know. Again, I'll just very quickly, there was a social study that was done a little while ago, and it was in a primary school setting where a class of children were asked to draw a picture of a firefighter, a pilot, you know, an electrician, a plumber, and something like 90% of the class all drew men. They all drew men. And then what happened was, in rocked the women. You know, a woman astronaut arrived, a woman firefighter arrived, a woman pilot arrived, you know, a woman plumber, a woman electrician. And they stood there in front of the class, and the class went, oh, well, that's weird. But actually, it's not weird, is it? It's not weird, because there's no reason why we can't do that.
That's one of the reasons why I like the ABM Junior Jeep program, Junior Engineering Engagement program, because it shows kids that, well, especially when I've been part of it, and when the engineering manager from Broadgate, Laurie, when she came along as well, that, you know, not all engineers are men, they are women too. And like the shock on some of their faces was sort of like, whoa. But it's brilliant because that is getting them at the right age.
Yes.
So that's something that I'll probably be thankful to ABM for quite a long time. Is giving me that opportunity to go into schools and changing those kids' minds. Because one of them did want to be an engineer, but she was being told that she shouldn't by her family, and she should do this and she should do that, rather than what she wanted to do, what she made her happy. And my cousin wanted to do something when she was in college, and she went to do something else because that's what her family wanted. But I said to her, if it's not making you happy, don't do it. There's no point, absolutely no point. And I love my job, and I will teach anyone anything they want to know, ever, you know, and I will forever learning myself. It's one of those jobs that you don't stop learning, always learning.
Ladies, we got a raised hand from Stephanie. Join in, Stephanie.
Yeah, I think, like, obviously from a generational point of view, it's very much down to parents and teachers. I think if we get them on board and obviously encouraging, like, getting rid of these female male stereotypes and just all being collective. I think we obviously need to sort of push for that, and like Karen said, we need to push for sort of the junior school age, because they're such an influenced age. We need to like sort of target them, but follow it through with secondary school, because obviously if you just say it when they're sort of 10, 11, they'll forget it by the time they're 16, majority. So if you sort of go into schools at what, year 5, year 6, influence at that age, and then obviously when I was at school many years ago now, but in year 9 we did something called an enterprise day, but obviously construction and trades weren't a part of that. But if you encourage that, doing an enterprise day with like involving construction, then that could also be another thing to encourage as well.
What's your involvement, Stephanie? Where do you work?
So I work for a housing association in Leicester, so I am an electrician.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so I've connected with like Karen and Louise and that on social media and stuff like that, so obviously I know their background and stuff, but when they posted this earlier I thought I'd get involved.
Brilliant. Well, if it's any interest to you, there's a 5-day thing going on next week. One of the winning women's running a 5-day Get Yourself in the Local Media Challenge. Amanda Fitzgerald, I interviewed her about 4 days ago about it. So that could be something you could all do just to start getting yourself out there more locally. And just throwing that one in. But you've obviously got things going on, but I think something on LinkedIn, it's such a great medium now for getting the word out on different things. I'm happy to be involved where I can, but you know what you need to do, don't you? I think.
Yeah, I think one of the other things is that it's not feasible for some people to actually do an apprenticeship at the moment when they've got kids. The money's not good enough. So many apprenticeships are based on the JRB rates of pay. That's fine if you're 17, 18 years old, but when you're 25, 30, 35 onwards, you need to be getting the basic, at least the basic wage until you're out your first few years, because it's just no point. You can't afford to live on it.
There is. I've always one of my things that I've chatted to a few people about, and I've never really got a sensible answer, and I don't really know where we go with this, is that in my experience the apprenticeship model, right, if you look at the apprenticeship model for trades, it hasn't changed in the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years. It's just like you leave school, you earn a shit wage, you work shit hours, and you do shit stuff, and you do that for 5 years. You'll be very lucky if you get involved with a good company. And if you do, you'll turn out to be an amazing apprentice. And if you don't, you'll have just gone and worked for some company that got involved with the Olympic Park and pulled deer wire armour down for 5 years, in which case you know nothing. But you can actually go, oh, I'm a qualified apprentice. Right, that apprenticeship model will not appeal to my highly intelligent daughter, because why would she want to even consider that? Why are we not doing or looking at providing apprenticeship degrees? Yeah, apprenticeship higher level qualifications where it attracts more money, because like I said, we need to attract a higher quality candidate. I don't know, and I would love to know if I could just rock up at Parliament one day and go, who do I need to talk to about this? I would, but I just don't know where to go. I've got all this stuff in my head, and I've got all these ideas and all these aspirations, but
Karen, I actually do have an NVQ level 3 when I completed my electrotechnical modern apprenticeship, and I did that through a training scheme. And we do get our work judged, and you have to do certain things on site to get your NVQ. You cannot get your MVQ without completing your portfolio and ensuring you're meeting the units that they set out. So you shouldn't just be pulling cable. You should be doing the whole broad spectrum of that. If somebody's doing that, then they're letting you down massively.
I did get a level 3 qualification from a training provider without having any practical experience.
I know, that's the sad thing about it as well.
And this is where the industry is going a bit wrong and wonky, because it's all for profit. But anyway, that's another conversation. However, yeah, I just don't know. Going back to the apprenticeship model, it's broken.
It only suits 17 to 21-year-olds, anyone older than that, and it struggles. It really does.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I think why a lot of women aren't changing their trades, because it's difficult to get into it and to be taken seriously, to be quite honest. And financially, people just can't afford to do it.
No. Here's a thought. So why don't we create our own advertising campaign where we look amazing on the tools and really happy doing what we're doing, because we are. How amazing, and inspire young people and girls.
I can see already that one of the directors who's watching this from my company, Justine, she's already probably sitting there thinking to herself, right, okay, this is going to be a great thing. Because I believe one of our media people is also watching this as well.
Good.
Because this is close to their heart. Justine's has been divisional director for quite some time for ABM, and she's been in this trade for 20 years. I've been a Sparky for 24 years now, and they're just as passionate as us, and they want to do something like this as well. They want to move it forward. They want to do it, but they need to understand what needs to be done to get it there as well.
Well, I think we've started something.
Yeah,
Louise. I think we definitely have. And thank you, Rosemary, because actually you started it. So
yeah.
Oh, I've been listening to you rant for years, Karen. It's just so nice to get you all around the table. As soon as you said it, well, I was right in there, wasn't I? I'm interviewing people, and then Louise just sent me a private message. Do you mind if I come too? But I think there's so many opportunities now with social media, as you say. And I've done a LinkedIn masterclass this year, and I really can see the power of it for having conversations about absolutely anything. You just never know who's going to turn up and read stuff. You're all on there, and you tag people. If you put a post on, if you put one of your pictures on LinkedIn, Karen, one of you've had professional pictures. You had your own calendar, didn't you? And you can tag 30 people on a picture on LinkedIn, right? So you could tag a whole load of people in the profession, including me, and then they come and they comment on it, and you can use hashtags and you can share it with people. And if I go and comment on your post, it comes up on my timeline. It's a really viral medium to use, and it works for anyone, from someone like me who's a business coach, or MD of whoever.
Someone actually did that recently. A company in Leicester did it because they just hired a new female electrician, and I think Karen was tagged in it as well. Brilliant. And it was, and they got like almost 200 likes or something.
It went viral, didn't it? It went viral.
Yeah, it was insane. I was like, why am I tagged in this? And then I saw it. I was like, oh my, that's wicked. But like, it's so many likes, so much interaction, wasn't there?
Yes.
Well, please would anyone on here link up with me, because I'm on LinkedIn 6 days a week, and I started Winning Women back in 2013 because I had my own business and I was living by myself, and I just needed somewhere for support and fun. And so and this is what we're here for now. I think Winning Women has got something new for a new era, which is to help people have businesses that fit with our lives, that earn us good money, and we don't sell us old and burn ourselves out all the time. And I'm more than happy to use 1,900 women on the online group. So use the medium, ladies. Tag me. Sorry, I just got a message here. Oh, thank you. That must be Justine. Fascinating listening to you to get the message out there. Justine, link up with me, and yeah, let's see what we can do. Amazing group of women that we are.
I will just say though, I don't work for myself. I do work for other companies, but
It's great.
I see myself as a woman who's won, because I'm not just an engineer anymore. I am a supervisor. I'm one of 60 engineers on my campus, the only one. But we've had female engineers before, and we will again.
Yeah, and we haven't even
Louise, you are. Oh no, I see you pop up on social media. You're on, you know. Yeah, and I. Thing about social media is it's all consuming, isn't it? And sometimes you have the time for it, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes I lay there in bed and I'm scrolling. And I'm like, oh my god, I didn't answer that person's question. I didn't do that. Because you want to try and help everybody, and it is exhausting. And you can only do what you can do. And that's a big thing too, isn't it? Because you've got to go out to work and earn a living as well as trying to do everything else. So, but I think what this particular platform proves is that, you know, we're here, we are collaborating, we are just trying to raise the vibration of women and trades. And it's great. Thank you so much, Rosemary, because Rosemary, by the way, she facilitates this group, Winning Women Essex, which I struggle to say. And it's not just trades, is it, Rosemary? It's everybody. You facilitate the group in its so many business sectors. But thank you for hosting this event for us to focus on this, because, you know, it's your time at the end of the day, and we're all time conscious and time critical, and
no,
thank you. I just like to say thank you.
Thank you. It's absolutely my joy, and I'm more than happy to stay involved and share where we can. But let's go big here, shall we? Let's think of the big picture. Yeah.
And it is a big picture, isn't it? Because what we're doing is we're inspiring, like I say, our daughters, our granddaughters, our sisters, sometimes our mothers. Like I say, I hit this midlife crisis at 40, for God's sake. Like, you know,
I'd like to think that with my son, I'm changing the perspective of men.
Brilliant.
You are. And the other thing with it, I've learned with a platform like LinkedIn, it's often the people who don't comment that are watching you, everything you do, and they'll turn up. There's a real lurker thing going on. So it's often the people who comment that aren't the ones who are really going to make the difference. It's all the people who are watching who aren't quite ready to say anything yet, and they're just soaking it in. And then when they're ready, I mean, you could be talking about women who, you know, at the moment they're up to here, but in 2 years' time, this little, you know, this opening will come up, and then all it takes is a different course to open up. We've all seen that happen, isn't it? Just a little chink somewhere. And as for the publicity you're talking about, it's doable. We could do this. I'm going to send this to Amanda Fitzgerald, you know, the PR lady who's in Winning Women, and see what she comes up with. She gets so excited.
Is she the lady that's doing the press release thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I signed up for that. Yes,
Amanda. Good. Yeah, she's a cold water swimmer, and she wears lots of leopard, and she's very big. She's had a real amazing business journey herself. She's a real deal. And she's helped me with events I've done, got them in the press, and she'd love something like this. So I'm going to send you all the link to this recording. Share it with whoever and wherever you want. I'm going to stick it just on my YouTube channel. Let me know if you want me to put it anywhere else, and just share it. Let's go for it. And if you want to do this again, get on another call like this, and you want me to facilitate it, that's fine. But you've got so many people here, maybe you don't need that now. Maybe we've just started something. And tag each other.
I know, and it is great.
Unashamedly, let's just go for it. Let's get this out there. This is the time. This is such a pivotal year. And I think these next 3 months of 2021, I've got a feeling about them. There's stuff going on. There's openings going on. People are just, like you said, Louise, just opening up to so many different possibilities. So let's ride that wave. Thank you, Justine. Yes. And I'm sure Louise is an amazing supervisor. So thank you all so much. Thank you for coming. We've still got 8 people here. We've got 8, started with 8 and we've finished with 8. That's good. And yeah, keep in touch and let's get sharing.
Yeah. Thanks, Rosemary. Really enjoyed it.
No, you're so welcome.
Good.
Thank you all. Lovely. Okay, see you all soon. I shall tag you
Bye.
all. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.